all is, don't know what the call is. Visually a 5 minute spin it, audibly who starts is. Art on it all is, don't know what the call is. Visually a 5 minute spin it, audibly who starts is. Another week, another art on it all. This week, football. Football is tough because two different sports have claimed the name. One is played or watched or loved by billions of people, probably the most popular activity this side of walking or sleeping. Which, by the way, did you know the average professional soccer football player will run around 49 miles during a game? This football I think they call the beautiful game, but they probably mean it in the same way they call Orlando the city beautiful. Like, beauty is in the eye of the beholder kind of thing. Wink, wink. I guess some people just find it really visually appealing watching 20 people run around a giant field for 90 minutes, maybe. The other football is strictly for the United States. Some other countries have tried to steal it, or I guess Canada has anyway. But for the most part, the world doesn't have any interest in this game. Probably because American football is objectively the worst sport. It's the only sport that is basically 100% sure to destroy your body and potentially kill you 10 to 30 years after you're done playing. Where soccer football is running around for 80 miles without ever touching the ball, American football is running headfirst into another huge man for an out. The average football player might only move 50 yards of actual game action, but it's designed such that you end up ramming your skull into someone else's skull in 22.5 yard increments. I don't think anybody knows or cares about the history of American football. Like most sports, it probably started out for kids in schools, maybe colleges. But by the 50s, life in America was too easy and everyone had too much money and we needed something less boring than baseball to pay attention to, so we decided American football would be the new thing. Like all sports, nothing really matters for the first half of this sport's existence. Eventually, one super league becomes the one that matters, and stuff like records and standings and championships finally mean enough that one might care to pay attention to them. In this case, it was basically when they decided to call the championship game the Super Bowl. If you look at it a little squinty and from 100 yards in the sky, the average football stadium does kind of look like a bowl. At this point, there was a World Series that literally excluded all of the rest of the world, and a bunch of European soccer football championships that didn't have clever names. So all the National Football League had to do was call their big game Super Bowl, and everybody decided to love the sport. After that first Super Bowl made American football exciting, the game's importance kind of drops off for a while. There's not much to know about football in those first 20 seasons or whatever. The quarterback didn't throw the ball much. It was very violent and crashy and not very interesting. Until this dude that reminded people of a refrigerator came along and was just too big and strong to ignore. Football was interesting again and there was no turning back. American football was never going to be anything but the only thing Americans actually like. A couple of decades after the Fridge Man, American football introduced us to the greatest human being to ever walk the earth. His name is Tom Brady, and he's the best. He wins the championship something like 1 out of every 3 years he plays. And if you're watching this close enough to when I make it, he's still playing today, almost 50 years old. And he's probably going to win another championship this year. Other than these two, the Big Fridge and the Perfect Man, I wouldn't worry about knowing any other historical players or teams. American football is good because you can just start watching it now, and you know as much as anyone on earth about what's going to happen week to week. Well, I guess this one is 4 minutes minute. So right now it's August of 22. NFL football just ended their season 2 months ago in February, but preseason games have sort of already started again. They'll be full on for the next few weeks anyway. Isn't that a little suspicious? Isn't it driving you crazy? As soon as the NFL season starts, which again is like a month from now when I'm recording this. Even though this year has only had 75 days through August,